Welcome to Unspoken Affairs. In today's video, I want to take you on a journey that begins in a quiet home in Ohio. A place where the morning sun doesn't just rise but seems to whisper stories into every corner of a modest living room. Though golden light slipped through the curtains that morning, painting faint streaks across the walls and landing softly on a beige sofa that had seen better days. That sofa had been there for years, a silent witness to countless late-night talks, tears shed in silence, laughter that echoed in bursts, and the small, ordinary moments that make up a life. I sat there with a cup of coffee, warming my hands, the steam curling upward and fogging my glasses slightly, making the world appear softer, blurrier. I stared at the wooden floor beneath me, not really seeing it, my mind already wandering into the rhythm of another day. Lately, life had begun to feel like a loop I couldn't escape. As though every sunrise only led me back to the same cycle: work, chores, bills stacked neatly but never ending. And the silence that filled the house when I found myself alone with my thoughts. My name is Rachel Turner, and at 39, I often wondered if I was moving through life or just keeping myself from drowning in its currents. I wasn't unhappy exactly, but there was a heaviness that clung to me, a weight I carried quietly, because that's what mothers do. I have a son, Ethan. He's 12 years old. But sometimes when I look at him, I see a soul far older, wiser than his years should allow. He isn't like most kids his age. While others fill rooms with chatter and noise, Ethan brings a quiet presence, thoughtful and observant, as though he is always studying the world with patient curiosity. He has this remarkable ability to read people, especially me. No matter how much I tried to mask my emotions, to put on a smile when I was tired, or hold back tears when I was overwhelmed, he seemed to see straight through it. Perhaps it was because, for so long, it had mostly been just the two of us. My husband, Michael, worked out of state. His job kept him away for long stretches, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. I did my best to keep things normal for Ethan, too. Give him stability to preserve his childhood from the cracks that life sometimes insists on showing. But children are far more perceptive than we give them credit for. They notice the small hesitations, the way a parent sighs when they think no one is listening, the moments when silence lingers a little too long. Ethan noticed. And though I wished he wouldn't, I also realized it was part of what made him so unique. That Saturday morning felt like any other. I was lost in small, ordinary thoughts: what to cook for dinner, whether we had enough laundry detergent left, whether I had remembered to pay the electric bill on time. It's funny how the mind holds on to these details, tiny concerns that pile up until they feel larger than they are. I didn't notice at first when Ethan padded into the living room. His sandy brown hair stuck up at odd angles from sleep, and he was still in his pajamas, holding tightly to the stuffed bear he had loved since he was small. Even as he grew older, he refused to part with it, and secretly, I was grateful. That bear was proof that, no matter how quickly he seemed to mature, he was still my little boy. I smiled faintly at the sight of him, wondering how much longer he would cling to that bear before deciding it was too childish. But before I could say anything, Ethan crossed the room silently and wrapped his arms around me. This wasn't unusual. He had always been affectionate, a boy who understood the language of touch and hugs better than words sometimes. Those embraces were often my anchor, a reminder that despite everything, I wasn't alone. But this hug felt different. He held on longer than usual, pressing his cheek against my chest with a kind of urgency, as though searching for something he couldn't quite name. The coffee cup in my hand trembled slightly, and I set it down on the table, freeing both arms to pull him closer. I brushed my fingers through his messy hair and whispered, "What's this for?" At first, he didn't answer. He just breathed against me, his small frame rising and falling as though he was gathering the courage to speak. Slowly, he leaned back, not letting go completely. His hands settled on my shoulders, steady, intentional. When his hazel eyes lifted to meet mine, I was startled by the intensity in them. There was a seriousness there that made my heart clench. "Mom," he said softly, "are you okay? Really okay?" The question caught me unprepared. I blinked, my lips parting slightly, but no words came. For a moment, I was frozen, staring into my son's eyes, realizing he had seen through me more clearly than anyone else had. My instinct, as always, was to reassure him, to smile and say the words every parent learns to say, "I'm fine." But his gaze didn't let me escape, held me there, demanding honesty, piercing through the mask I wore daily. "I'm fine, sweetheart." I finally managed, forcing a smile I didn't feel. But even as I said it, I knew he didn't believe me. His eyes narrowed slightly, his head tilted as if studying me like a puzzle he already knew the answer to. "You don't look fine," he whispered. Those words shattered something in me. All the long nights lying awake worrying about bills, the loneliness that echoed when Michael was gone. The exhaustion of trying to be both mother and father, all of it rose up in my throat, threatening to choke me. Tears welled in my eyes before I could stop them, and I turned quickly, wiping them away with the back of my hand. But Ethan saw. He always saw, Mom. He said again, firmer this time, "You don't have to pretend with me." I pulled him close, hugging him tightly, pressing my face into his hair. My voice broke as I murmured, "You're too young to worry about me. I'm supposed to be the one taking care of you." "And you do," he said quickly, pulling back just enough so I'd look at him. "You take care of me every single day. But who takes care of you?" That question cut deeper than I could have imagined. My breath caught and I had no answer. His small hand reached for mine, fingers curling around with a strength that surprised me. His touch was both comforting and heartbreaking. "Mom," he continued, "it's okay to tell me when you're sad. I don't need you to be strong all the time. I just need you to be you." His words, so simple yet profound, undid me completely. Tears spilled over and I couldn't stop them. Not the quiet tears I usually allowed myself in solitude, but the deep, aching sobs that come only after holding too much inside for too long. And through it all, Ethan didn't flinch. He hugged me tighter, whispering, "I've got you, Mom. It's my turn to hug you the way you hug me." That moment altered something between us. It wasn't just a hug anymore, it was a revelation. Love, even from someone so young, could hold power, could mend cracks I didn't realize had spread so wide. Ethan had truly seen me, not the mask, not the facade, but Mitha, tired, flawed, struggling, loving me, later that day. As we stood side by side in the kitchen, flipping pancakes, he kept glancing at me as though to make sure I was okay. Small hands worked carefully as he stirred the batter, his concentration fierce. When he caught me wiping at my eyes, he grinned mischievously. "You cry kind of funny, Mom," he teased. His playfulness broke through the heaviness, and I laughed, the sound shaking loose some of the sadness. We spent that afternoon talking more than we had in months. He told me about school, about feeling left out sometimes because his dad wasn't around like other kids' fathers. I told him for the first time how much I worried about being enough for him, how heavy the responsibility of carrying our little world sometimes felt. And instead of being weighed down by my honesty, he simply listened. He reached across the table, his hand finding mine again, as though reminding me that love doesn't flow only one way, it circles back. From that day forward, I tried to let him in more. Not with everything because he was still a child, but enough that he knew I trusted him too. Enough so he would grow up understanding that emotions are not weaknesses to be hidden, but truths to be shared. And every time he hugged me after that day, I remembered the shift. I remembered that sometimes the greatest strength we can show is the willingness to be vulnerable with the people we love. The truth is, life never stopped being complicated. Bills still came, chores never vanished, and loneliness still knocked at my door when Michael was away. But something had changed within me. I no longer carried the weight in silence. I had a companion, a small but mighty source of comfort, who reminded me daily that I didn't have to hold the world together alone. Ethan grew older, but that moment remained etched in me as the day my son taught me one of life's most unspoken truths: that love is not just about giving, but about allowing ourselves to receive. And sometimes, even the smallest arms can carry the heaviest burdens for us if only we let them.